So we had some tragic events that occurred over the course of the weekend, and I think it would be appropriate to remember the loss of two of our children here in the city. If you don't mind just taking a brief moment and let's just pray for their family. Thank you. I'd like to recognize Representative Candy Smith in the audience. Thank you for being here. And if there are any other dignitaries in the audience, please represent. If you'll please raise your hand. Elected officials. Seeing none, I'm honored to be here today. As you know, I'm here on behalf of the Rocky Mountain City Council and the mayor. And as we've emerged out of the pandemic over the last 2 very difficult years, I'd like to thank all of our frontline city employees who went above and beyond to care for our community, and we are grateful to you. Unfortunately, we did lose a number of our neighbors to COVID-19. So I ask you please join me in another moment of silence in this case to remember them and keep their families and friends in our prayers. Thank you. Soon the Rocky Mountain City Council will look very different with about half of the council seats up for re-election. That includes wards 2, 3, 6, and 7 in a delayed election day due to redistricting from last October, was when it was originally scheduled, to now May 17th. In a delayed election day due to redistricting from we were required to redistrict because of a new census that we had taken. And so we wanted to make sure that each and every ward had a deviation of no more than 5%. So we hired consultants to assist with the redistricting, and they provided us with 3 great options. Interestingly enough, though, a group of citizens came forward with their own proposed plan and a 4th alternative. So following careful consideration and much discussion, the City Council adopted the alternative plan as presented by our citizens group. And this has not happened before in our city, and I dare say it seldom occurs in other cities. But it certainly is evidence of democracy in action when involved, interested, and informed citizens come together with a plan for the benefit of the whole community. Finally, both Councilwoman Miller and Councilman Bullock are retiring from the council and are not seeking re-election this year. I want to thank them for their dedicated service, spirited collaboration, and love of Rocky Mountain. So please join me in giving them a round of applause right now. Thank you for your service. So the Rocky Mountain Event Center kicked off 2022 by hosting 13 major sporting events. More than 51,000 guests from around the country have visited our area to attend volleyball, basketball, and cheerleading tournaments at the Event Center. Now that's been since January 1st of this year. These guests have booked hotel rooms, spent money at local retail locations, and dined at area restaurants. These actions have generated more than $9 million in economic impact as the Event Center continues to be a regional leader in sports and travel tourism. It is expected the Event Center will generate at least $15 million in economic impact to our area before the year is over. Organizations and industries are also finding the amenities of Rocky Mountain Event Center to be positive for business. The Event Center staff recently held the 15th Annual North Carolina Agritourism Networking Association Conference that welcomed hundreds of farmers and state leaders to Rocky Mountain. The Blue Cross North Carolina Extra Mile Tour also made a stop at the Event Center, bringing executive leadership from this organization to the venue, as well as the OSC, the Golden Leaf Foundation, and Education North Carolina. The Event Center has a strong spring planned with additional volleyball and basketball tournaments, as well as major concerts, including the sold-out Kings of South, which will be on April 30th, and the Mother's Day concert on May 7th. Most weekends, the Rocky Mountain Event Center hosts a game day arcade and ropes climbing experience that provides fun for residents and visitors alike. The venue has large spaces for weddings, for parties, and other celebrations, as well as a talented culinary staff. As more people from near and far experience the Event Center, a word of mouth generates even more business for greater economic impact to us. While the Event Center is proving itself to be a powerful economic engine for our community, we still have work to do in preparing to receive large numbers of guests in our city. For example, I believe we do need to add additional parking spaces, provide shuttle service or other forms of transportation to connect both hotels and other major venues like the Rocky Mountain Mills to the event center. We need to improve directional signage, expand public relations and marketing efforts to promote the event center to potential patrons, as well as to promote all Rocky Mountain has to offer to each and every one of our visitors. I would also like to see the city encourage more downtown promotions with large numbers of visitors will already be at the event center. Things like pop-up shops and empty buildings, themed downtown events to encourage local vendor participation and resident attendance, and arts installations or murals that brighten up the surrounding and start a buzz. Then this energy can lead to more private investment and further downtown improvements. Rocky Mountain needs to mend fences with our neighboring counties and municipalities, and we've worked hard over the last year to do so. Here's what's happened. After Rocky Mountain became an entitlement city with HUD for the receipt of CDBG funding, the city, the two counties, and most of the municipal jurisdictions formed the Down East Home Consortium in 1995. Its purpose was to receive funding from HUD's Home Investment Partnership Program. And through the years, the members of the consortium have received annual allocations of funding from HUD. The city serves as the lead entity for the consortium and is responsible for ensuring compliance with all HUD guidelines and regulations governing the use of home funds by the member jurisdictions. From 2013 through 2016, the City of Rocky Mount spent the home funds allocated to the various member jurisdictions for housing improvement projects only in Rocky Mount. Last year, the staff calculated the amounts that Rocky Mount should have sent over the years to the various jurisdictions and drafted reconciliation agreements with Nash and Edgecombe counties, and with the towns of Tarboro and Sharpsburg to reimburse these funds. The total amount involved from all these agreements equaled almost $2 million. The city took this effort as a way to try to restore our working relationships with these neighboring jurisdictions, and it is my hope we can continue to strengthen these ties as we go forward. Now, CSX's new Carolinas Connector opened last November in Edgecombe County, and we are already receiving inquiries from companies who want to locate nearby the 330-acre intermodal site, which allows trucks to transfer cargo containers from ports by truck or by train for transport throughout the United States. The Carolinas Gateway Partnership says that we have 79 active projects interested in being near the intermodal, and the criterion for that is they have to have touched us at least within 120 days. That represents a total investment of over $20 billion of capital and would create in excess of 20,000 jobs to our area. Now, North Carolina DOT invested $118 million in this project. CSX Railroad contributed $40 million to this economic development project. And as a result, the Carolina Connector has opened the Port of Wilmington to daily direct rail service through Rocky Mount to the Midwest and has had a positive effect in beginning to dissipate the supply chain logjam in our region. The placement of this facility relatively close to the US 64 corridor in connection with I-95 capitalizes on the good fortune of our location. And with great access to major transportation centers and corridors, the intermodal is a game changer for us and our ability to generate further and future economic development. Construction of widening Eastern Avenue between Red Oak and North Old Carriage Roads into 4 lanes with raised medians began last year and is forecasted to be completed in 2024. The project also involves converting the Sunset Avenue Bridge over I-95 into an interchange. The North Carolina Department of Transportation awarded a $60.5 million design-build contract for this project. And over the long term, I believe this project will result in increased commercial and residential development that will connect Nashville and Rocky Mount even more closely together. One of the transportation challenges we are facing downtown, not related to the intermodal, results from the lengthening of CSX freight trains coming through Rocky Mount. The length of freight trains has doubled to 10,000 to 12,000 feet in lengths in the recent months. Southbound freight trains who come through town come to the rail yard, which is in the south side of our city, and train crews remove cars and or add cars depending on the transportation. This process of rearranging cars often takes as long as 30 to 40 minutes. And this creates problems for our public safety and for response times and for routine commerce. Peter and I have met with CSX representatives who have been very open to discussing ways to mitigate the inconvenience and the delays from the crossings being blocked for these lengthy periods of time. And our conversations are continuing, and I hope to update you soon on this initiative. So we are close to getting the Monk to Mill Trail completed. It's an urban and greenway trail connecting the Thelonious S. Monk Park in downtown Rocky Mount to the Rocky Mountain Mills. The city recently authorized execution of an agreement with the North Carolina Department of Transportation that will provide 80% of the funding for the $2 million project that will begin at the Y Street Park that's been named in the honor of the Rocky Mountain native and famous jazz musician Thelonious S. Monk. It will move through downtown, and then the greenway will follow the right-of-way of an old railroad spur to the Rocky Mountain Mills. The trail will add another quality of life component to Rocky Mount, and that benefits our residents and is a draw to future business development. Our vision for the city is to increase the availability of affordable housing and to spur job growth through increased economic development. Local developers and outside investors have begun ramping up efforts to redevelop our residential and commercial stock through the city. As a result, our current housing availability is very tight and costs are rising. Our location halfway between New York and Miami is fortuitous, but our access to highways north and south, as well as east and west, and our active commuter and commercial rail lines add for all opportunities for our area and for our growth. The city's reorganized Development Services Department has simplified the process by allowing developers, realtors, and other real estate professionals the opportunity to easily speak with city professionals involved in each aspect of development projects. Experts tell me that home prices have risen over 23% in the region in 2021 and 16% in the first 3 months of this calendar year. Days on market have further declined approximately 50% during the same period. So we are desperately in need of additional housing. Regionally, over 600 new homes have been built in 2021 in an effort to meet the demand, and new construction continues to boom. About 12 years ago, the City Redevelopment Commission acquired property along the Beale Street corridor from Grace Street to North Tillery Street. The area was characterized by a prevalence of vacant lots and deteriorating houses. 5 years ago, the Commission sold land at the corner of Sunset and Grace Street for the development of multi-family residential apartments. Now, they are working to dispose the remaining 36 lots in the area and will soon issue an RFP, or request for proposals, for redeveloping these lots. City leadership is focused on inclusive, equitable economic development and job creation in Rocky Mount. While we are still waiting for progress with the Triangle Tire, hung up due to unfavorable relations between the U.S. and China over tariffs, their large plot of land near the intermodal is really coveted, absolutely coveted by other potential investors hoping to build in our area. QVC decided not to rebuild in our area, and that was certainly not the news that we were hoping for. However, but their strong commitment to our community will certainly be lost. And as you may remember, fire and emergency crews from 6 counties, led by our own Rocky Mount Fire Department, responded to this crisis in the middle of the night, and sadly, 1 fatality was confirmed. Approximately 75% of the 1.5 million square foot facility was damaged. However, a sizable portion of the robotics were not. QV staff are actively investigating the fire's cause with the Bureau of ATF and are offering an award of $20,000 for information. In Rocky Mount, Tarboro, and Edgecombe County, communities have been incredibly supportive of QVC employees. The United Way, the Rocky Mount Chamber of Commerce, the Carolinas Gateway Partnership partnered to launch a fund to support displaced workers, of which QVC donated $100,000. Moving forward, there's every indication there are a lot of interested parties on the QVC site that, though damaged, is build ready with the needed infrastructure already in place. Over the past 18 months, the city has approved more than $2 million in grant agreements for established or expansion of 7 industrial locations. These grants, funded by the state of North Carolina, help recruit the creation of more than 300 jobs in manufacturing and logistics. With the help of Business Development Services, facilitated by the Rocky Mount Area Chamber of Commerce, Rocky Mount saw more than 60 new and expanded retail and commercial businesses in 2021. This created 720 jobs and provided more than $56 million in capital investment. Remember, this was during the height of the pandemic. The city's Office of Downtown Development has distributed approximately $440,000 in grant assistance over the last 18 months for redevelopment of central city buildings for retail and residential use. We've seen the opening of several new downtown businesses with quite a few more on the way. One of the most critical infrastructure issues that we face as a city is enabling reliable, universal access to high-speed broadband internet services for everyone. Access to the internet is as critical to the success of this community as drinking water is for our health. And eliminating the digital divide supports education, job creation, and economic development. According to the survey data collected by the state, approximately 60% of residents and businesses cannot receive broadband service. This past year, we, our economic development partners, lobbied the North Carolina General Assembly to take action to allow municipalities to use funds received from the American Rescue Fund and Plan, as well as other federal grants to offer broadband services as a city to area residents. Unfortunately, the Governor and General Assembly denied us the ability and decided instead not to do so. Despite the serious setback, there is cause for optimism. The city is currently working with a nationwide fiber optic internet service provider that is pursuing the construction of a 100% fiber network that will allow up to 10 gigabits of upload and download speeds inside the city. Most importantly, no city funds will be required for this project. And we are looking forward to announcing this major privately funded project soon. These past couple of years presented considerable challenges to all of us. The economic uncertainty created by the COVID pandemic has necessitated conservative and adaptable response by the city with respect to utilization of its financial resources. As a result of this cautious approach, Rocky Mount finished its most recent fiscal year with more than $2.5 million in additional unassigned fund balance. We anticipate living within our means in respect to the current fiscal year and will be thoughtful and strategic as we move forward in the deliberation and deliberating the budget for the next fiscal year to address the priorities of the City Council to help our constituents along with equipment replacement, facility improvements, staffing, and inflation. Public safety is priority number one, and shared by Council, we are making progress to our goal of safer neighborhoods. One of the most encouraging trends in our community during the past year has been a significant decrease in reported crimes. The overall number of crimes in Rocky Mount plunged by nearly 16% in 2021 compared to the previous year, according to the data compiled by the police department. And violent crime in the Rocky Mount area is down over 18% over the last year. These decreases were reflected in an array of areas. The city saw fewer violent crimes such as aggravated assaults and robberies, and fewer property crimes such as break-ins and larcenies. The trend of less crime continued in January of this year, with another 4% overall decrease in crime as compared to the same period last year. At this rate, the city could see a continued reduction in crime by the end of 2022, despite the tragic events of this past weekend. Thank you, Chief Hassel and your team. I want to applaud you. Your innovative approaches to community policing have resulted in lower crime numbers. Understanding that an informed community is a safer community, the police department has increased public service announcements and launched the Atlas One app that citizens can download to report and to receive crime updates. The department also received tips from the community on this Rocky Mount Police 2 citizen Facebook page, which is dedicating to notifying residents about wanted individuals. The newly created Violent Crime and Gang Task Force is seeking to identify trends and enhance investigative enforcement and prevention efforts within the city. This unit's proactive strategies are citizen and data-driven. That gives it the flexibility to adjust policing strategies to the areas most in need in our city. The police department also always works closely with local and federal partners such as the Drug Enforcement Administration and ATF to rid our streets of illegal narcotics and firearms. Again, I thank you. After a community-led effort to clean up the historic cemetery of Unity Cemetery, the city of Rocky Mount took up the cause to project a symbol of our past. Unity Cemetery was founded in 1901 as a public cemetery for Rocky Mount's African American community. It's the resting place for civic leaders, military veterans, many other influential and notable residents. This sacred place was not properly cared for in recent decades, and the community embraced the effort to change this. Last year, the City Council acted in support of that community effort, unanimously approving plans to spend $1.46 million over the next 5 years on tasks such as graveside restoration and maintenance. Initially, this effort has focused on preserving the cemetery's archival records by moving them safely to the education building of the Imperial Center for the Arts and Sciences. Volunteers are also being recruited to help work with descendants of those buried at Unity Cemetery to recreate oral histories. And a new website has been launched to publicize and encourage these efforts. Currently, city crews are working to clear overgrown areas in the 18-acre cemetery that represents an important part of our city's history. One of the city's major accomplishments of the past year came in October when Rocky Mount was recognized as one of 10 winners nationwide of the 2020-2021 Robert Wood Johnson Foundation Culture of Health Prize. This prestigious award honors and elevates communities for working at the forefront of advancing health, opportunity, and equity. This award is a testament to what improving our neighborhoods can mean to our cities. So this year has indeed been a year of change and transition, namely in the city's staff leadership. And I am thankful Peter Varney has stepped up to take the helm as interim city manager as we search for a new city manager. Mr. Varney continues to try to retire from the city. He tried first at the end of 2012 after a long career as an assistant city manager, again after 5 months in 2018, and then again after 9 months in 2021. Peter, I want to thank you for your unwavering support of the city and for answering our calls for help. I can't promise this will be the last time. There you go. Can't promise this is the last time we'll ask, but we'll try not to going forward. We've also said goodbye to our finance director, assistant manager, and our director of community development. But please know we are searching for strong replacements and have interim people in place to keep the city moving forward. To begin the city manager search at a recent city council work session, 2 representatives from the UNC Chapel Hill School of Government recommended that we identify the areas of competency that we deem to be most needed in administrative leadership for our city. We discussed 19 areas of competency commonly found in successful local government leadership. And together we concluded the following as the most important look for our next city manager. Integrity. It is important to us that the next city manager demonstrate fairness, honesty, and ethical and legal awareness in personal and professional relationships. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is important to us that the next city manager understand and value the difference among individuals in our community and is able to apply the concepts of equity and inclusion in all that we do so that our citizens will have the opportunity to share in growth and prosperity in our area. Effective staff leadership and human resources management. It is important to us that the next city manager be skillful at facilitating teamwork among city staff, creating a work environment that encourages responsibility and decision-making at all levels and coaching, while at the same time ensuring that policies governing hiring, promotions, performance appraisal, and discipline are followed. Functional and operational expertise. It is important to us that the next city manager understand the full range and scope of many services our city government provides, especially in the areas of public safety, community and economic development, public works, human and social services, and can anticipate workforce, equipment, and infrastructure needs. Utility enterprise management. It is important to us that the next city manager have experience in managing utility enterprises, including electric, natural gas, water, sewer, and storm utility services. Budget and financial analysis. It is important to us that the next city manager is skillful in interpreting financial information to assess the short-term and long-term fiscal condition of the city's operation and can compare alternative strategies for funding projects. We hope to engage an executive search firm this month so that we have a new city manager that exemplifies these characteristics in place as soon as we can. So our vision for the future looks like this. We and I have always believed that we can better Rocky Mount by making neighborhoods safer, creating jobs, improving economic development, and creating accountability. Our city is well on its way to achieving all these goals, and we did it together. Crime is down, jobs and economic development are up, and going forward, we now have a statewide ethics law to keep locally elected officials accountable to you, the voters. For the future, I envision and believe that our council hopes for increased neighborhood-led affordable housing initiatives to repair and rebuild damaged and neglected homes that lead to safer neighborhoods, more affordable housing choices, and increased community pride. Stronger educational opportunities for our children through innovative 360-degree approaches that include Obama's My Brother and Sisters Keepers launch, Peacemakers Keepers Southside Academy, and the reimagining of the and continued innovation of the Edgecombe County school system, just to name a few. Focused economic development and job growth through a thoughtful, comprehensive economic strategy plan that will lay the foundation for expansion, prosperity, and partnership in our region. Increased innovation in meeting transportation needs through a potential city microtransit program that will help solving the transportation struggle for workers and more convenient for our citizens, as well as saving them and the city money. More growth in Edgecombe County with potential construction, or at least the study of, an outer loop to connect US 64 to Highway 301 with other parts of our city encouraged in this growth. Closer ties between Rocky Mount Mills and downtown to make Rocky Mount a destination and a place to stop and play on the way between Raleigh and the coast. We still have a way to go, but I feel more positivity in the air and excitement of things to come and a joining together to make Rocky Mount better for all of us. Let's keep it going, and thank you.